I couldn't resist bringing you outside with the daffodils. It's so exciting to see them growing because it means winter's nearly over. I find myself relying on my journals more than ever to keep my thoughts organised and as a place of calm and respite. I'm a really consistent journaler. Part of that is needing to create online content, but that is only a very small part of why I journal. I thought I'd talk to you about all the other parts of why I journal, what keeps me returning again and again to fill multiple journals and notebooks. I'm Ruby from The Useful Journal. Like this video and subscribe to my channel to get the most out of your journaling and maybe be a little bit creative as well. I've been keeping journals ever since I was about 12 years old, on and off. Most of the time they were diaries recording what I did or anything of interest. My activity probably reached its peak when I was travelling overseas. I've now got a couple of notebooks full of handwritten text from these times, and I write pretty small too. Then in 2017, I heard about bullet journaling, so I looked it up online, and the mixture of planning, diarising, and incorporating creative elements really appealed to me. So I began my first bullet journal in 2018. My first 2 years of use were patchy, but ever since the beginning of 2020, I've been very consistent. Over the last 6 years, in addition to keeping my regular day-to-day journal, I've started a few special journals. I think my first was my mental health journal, but I've now got quite the collection for a big range of hobbies and planning purposes. You'll hear about a few of these while I talk to you about why I journal. The main reason anyone picks up a journal is because they want to keep a diary or they want to plan their daily activities and tasks. My memory can be a bit unreliable. Sometimes it's excellent, but sometimes I forget why I walked into a room and that I had to be up at 8 a.m. for a meeting in the morning. Having a journal where you can log all your appointments, meetings, deadlines and events all in one place means I don't forget things, and because I have a future log, I can note down things months into the future. Of course, a calendar meets this function for most people, but for me, being able to write my diary entries and refer back to my calendar in this month or previous months in the same book is very handy. Related to that is planning. Whether it be tasks, lists of things that you want to achieve, or just working through ideas, my journal provides the perfect repository for this kind of material. Many people write tasks in their daily or weekly log, or have a task list that they work through in their main journal. I have done that in the past, but this year I've been experimenting with a few different processes, including keeping an interstitial journal that tracks the time I do certain activities so I can learn my patterns of work and when I get distracted. I've combined this with rapid logging, which is a bullet journaling technique. This is the most logical place to keep my daily tasks, but I do migrate them from my interstitial journal to my daily journal if I feel like it might take a while to do them. I use my journal to keep lists. For instance, I planned out all the races I would need to do to complete 1,000 kilometers of kayak marathons in 1 year, and I wrote a list of all the recipes I planned to try. A few times I've had challenge lists like the 50 ideas for my 50th year. It's been very handy to include a when did I last list in my journal, as I can see when the activity needs to be done in future. I list online orders so I can remember that I'm supposed to be getting a package, and I note when my dog has had his flea medication or gets a wash or his annual vaccination so I can remember when the next is due. I'd be lost without these reminders. I have several journals that are more specifically about planning. My outdoor activities journal includes packing lists and trip reports, and I use it to refer back to when I'm planning future trips, looking at things like where I noted good camp spots, the impact of specific conditions, who I did trips with. With similar objectives, I have a gardening journal, a craft journal to manage projects, a renovations journal, and I have a useful journal where I plan my online content. Clearly, I'm keen on planning, but I journal for a few other reasons as well. When I first got into the journaling I do now, I was focused on the more creative style of bullet journaling. I've adapted what I've learnt about bullet journaling, keeping a diary and other forms of journaling over the years, but one thing I have kept doing since I started bullet journaling is keeping trackers. Trackers are useful for many reasons. They're a critical tool in changing your behaviour because the first step in any behaviour change process is learning about yourself. Learning how you do things currently, what needs to change, and then monitoring your success at adding routines to your day that hopefully will achieve the behaviour change that you're seeking. I find trackers highly motivational because they remind me to act, they provide immediate feedback on my progress, make me accountable, and they're great for sharing with others who might have similar goals. Have you ever heard of the saying that a run doesn't count until you log it on Strava? It's a similar idea. One particularly useful tracker I implemented for a few months was when I had to go on medication for my mental health for a short time. Hello, menopause. I used a monthly tracker to monitor taking my medication, my moods, and things that happened each day that might affect my mood, like being tired, being stressed at work, or dealing with a family issue. It was exceptionally useful, and later on I was able to use a similar process to identify that I could discontinue the medication. I've heard lots of people say that they use their journals in similar ways to track their health. As a result of my journal trackers, I now drink far more water more regularly than I ever did before in my life. I'm more aware of the relationship between my sleep and eating patterns and mood, and I'm more committed to regular exercise. If you're keeping trackers, then one of the most important steps in journaling for achieving behaviour change is reflecting on what's happened and what you've learned. I often do a reflection at the end of each month, and I definitely reflect on my day-to-day journal, the one that's full of trackers, when I fill it up, which usually takes between 5 to 7 months. I look at patterns, things I need to work on, things I should stop doing or revise because they're not working for me, and I note down any ideas for future journals or habits I want to work on. At the moment, I'm implementing what I learned from reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. So each month I look at how I did on the habits I was practicing in the last month and see how I can improve my page layout to get better results. If you're using habit trackers and you fill them out and never look at them again, then you're probably not using them properly, unless you were using it to motivate you to complete a task and you can see at the end of the month that you filled in the number of days that you wanted to fill in. If you didn't achieve your goal for the period of that tracker, then you definitely need to review the tracker to see why and what you might be able to do to get a better result next time. We've covered a few reasons why journaling might be good for your health. I think my journaling has led to me exercising more consistently, and it's helped me achieve outdoors and sporting goals I might have struggled with if I hadn't been planning and tracking my progress. I've used my journal to plan and achieve weight loss, and I've been thinking I really need to pick that journal up again because it definitely helps. A journal is also a tool that therapists encourage people to use to manage their mental health better. I rely heavily on my mental health journal. It's been a place to clear my head of stressful thoughts, practice gratitude and positive affirmations, record therapy notes, and write down what's important to me. I've been in relationships where I've been subject to gaslighting, and when you're made to doubt yourself and doubt something you've said or something you've done or just something that's happened, your journal can act as a record to reassure yourself that you're not going crazy and that that thing did happen. If you're in an abusive relationship, your journal can act as a tool to kind of convince yourself eventually that the relationship you're in isn't good for you and that you need to change something. When I'm stressed or can't get something off my mind, my creative journal, whether it's art or writing, can serve as a creative space that focuses my attention, slows my thoughts, and helps me to relax. It's kind of meditative in a way, even when I'm just sticking in stickers. Apart from being a record of the things I've done, especially when I've kept a daily diary entry, which I've been fairly consistent with in the last couple of years, my journals hold lots of other records too. My outdoors journal is a record of all my hiking, climbing, kayaking and skiing trips, among other things. My reading journal is a wonderful reference for all the books I've read, and my games journal is a record of all the different board games I've tried. These help with recommendations to others, or in the case of board games, with deciding which games I'm keen to buy for myself. My birding journal is a reminder of the joy I experienced the first time I spotted a particular bird, and my memories journal is a slow trip down memory lane, trying to pull together significant moments from my childhood. Who knows, maybe one day I'll write a book. Finally, by doing creative journaling, I get to indulge my love of all things stationery, whether it's journals themselves, paper, stickers, pens, paints, or stamps. When I was little, we didn't have much money, and I had a biscuit tin that was, that's a cookie tin for some people, and it was full of all my treasures. I still remember that tin having an eraser that I had swapped with a friend. I had a pen with a little fuzzy animal on the end. I had stickers and many other random items like that. Now I get to play with that stuff all the time, and it makes me so happy. I know that got a little bit wordy and there was a lot of thoughts strung together in a lot of sentences, but in less words, I journal because it helps me keep track of my life. It motivates me and guides me in becoming the person that I want to be. It acts as a record of my life, and it's just plain fun and makes me feel good. If there was ever a reason to do something, surely that's one. I hope you enjoy journaling as much as I do, and if you haven't tried it yet, give it a go. Stick with it for at least 3 months to give it a decent chance. And if the first format you try doesn't work, try some other ideas just to see what gives you joy. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and get journaling. See ya!